Let's turn back to the race for the White House. Congressman Ron Paul is fighting on in his campaign to win the GOP nomination. Dr. Paul joins us this morning from his home state of Texas. And Dr. Paul, thank you for joining us this morning.
You're welcome.
Big day today. We do have a couple of more primaries coming up. And how do you expect that you'll fare in the South today?
Well, in the South, we don't expect to do a whole lot, but in the far West, we expect to do better, and that's in Hawaii. That's where we put a little bit of energy and investment into it.
And you come through this, and you continue to pick up ground. You continue to win votes. My question is, you are probably not going to be the one who wins the nomination in the end if things continue at this pace. What do you hope to do with your candidacy, and how long will you pursue this?
Well, there's four of us in the race, and of course, Romney looks like he's ahead, but he's far from having it won.
That's true.
So there's a lot of talk about a brokered convention. So with the enthusiasm and support of a whole generation of individuals, I feel obligated to stay into it until we decide who's going to be the nominee.
Well, if it went to a convention, do you think it would be one of the four of you who's still in the race?
Oh, I would think so, but I know there's some that would like to change that and sort of cancel out a year and a half of campaigning. Some of the people in the leadership of the party, sometimes don't like what you're saying, and sometimes the leader party don't like a lot of young people coming in and taking over the party, so they rather resent newcomers into the party. And I think that's what has happened to us. There's a lot of resentment of new people coming in, and there's a lot of fighting going on with leadership in the various states with young people coming in and wanting to participate. You've done a phenomenal job of tapping the young vote. How do you think you've done that? I really don't know. I didn't start off and say, philosophy and my age will mean that the young people are going to support me. No, I just talk about what I think is important, what I've done for 30 years. The sound money issue, following the Constitution, personal liberty is something that other Republicans never talk about. Young people like that, and the young people really, really resent the fact that these wars are perpetual. They're paying for the past wars. There's a lot of debt, and it looks like they won't end. That is one of the big issues that they talk about when I talk to them on a personal level of why they like what I'm doing. One of the issues that has certainly been a touchstone recently is the rising price of gasoline. That's something that the president has been dealing with. Newt Gingrich has come out with his campaign for how he plans to keep gas at $2.50 a gallon. What's your plan for tackling gas prices, and how do you plan to help the American voter? Make my point, I say if you had sound money, it would cost about a dime. In terms of silver, that's what you could pay for a gallon of gasoline right now. So it isn't the price of gasoline is going up as much as the value of the dollar is going down. But then again, the regulations and the lack of drilling and the lack of competition in production is one thing. So deregulation certainly would help. But that's half. We all know about supply and demand of the product, but very few people talk about supply of the monetary unit, and that's one transaction. So you can't ignore that. You can't just say, well, increase the supply of energy and all of a sudden the prices will go down. I think it'd be a hard time just by trying to increase the supply of energy and get gasoline down to $2. That's not going to happen. But I think it's a money issue that people forget about and they should be talking about.
So, Congressman, we've been having this little mini debate today about the ability of the Fed once it realizes that that inflation is more than just a future worry, that they have the tools to make sure that it doesn't get out of hand. And my question to you, I asked the question, if you just add up all the debts that we have here and all the entitlements, the promises, future promises that we've made here, and then go ahead and throw in Europe and throw in everyone, is the fiat currency that we have right now, does it really reflect the future obligations that we have? Could the Fed just say, okay, now is time and we're going to do it? I mean, or are we already too late?
I think it's too late because we've made the commitment. The only thing holding it together is sort of an illusionary trust in the dollar because there's no place else to go. Except some countries now are saying, well, it will end, so we better subtly move over and use gold and do other things in the Far East. They're seriously talking about that, and even in the oil countries, they're talking about this. But for now, everything depends on the dollar. So if they come to a crisis where the prices go up and you need a Paul Volcker, to do something, this would crash the economy. And of course, if you continue to do exactly what we're doing now, it crashes the economy. We're not there yet, but it will come. Last month, a $200 billion deficit in 1 month, that used to be the entire budget of our country. And that is unsustainable. And eventually there'll be a loss of confidence in the dollar. Because that's the last thing that's holding us together. And to me, it's an illusion that the dollar can bail out the world.
When you look at what you hope to accomplish, again, by the end of the day, what's the most important things that you've brought up in this campaign that you hope will be lasting effects?
Well, the status quo of politics in Washington and around the country has to end. And I see it as both parties. People have to think more independently. And this is where I have thrived. I mean, the young people who are just coming into it are understanding what they're getting. But also, I do the best with independents. And they're not measured in the Republican primary. Independents are sick and tired of it all. And now the large majority of people say, especially with the mess that's going on in Afghanistan, the American people, by a large majority, now are saying it's time to come home if you can't do any better than that, and running up these debts. So I would say contributing to this whole idea that the status quo won't last. You can't keep bailing out. You can't keep the same monetary policy. You can't keep the same foreign policy. And the entitlement system is totally out of control. It's on autopilot, and nobody else has proposed a cut. The other candidates say, yeah, cut on the proposed increases. I have proposed $1 trillion cut, so I'm serious about it. I believe the problem is very bad, and evidently nobody else considers this because nobody else really wants to cut anything.
After one of the recent debates, Rick Santorum seemed upset. He seemed to think that you and Mitt Romney had teamed up somehow and were tag teaming him in the course of the debate. Is there any truth to that conspiracy theory?
No, some people are more into conspiracies than I am, but I think he's more involved in conspiracies. No, it's just because we're cordial with each other. We've known each other, and we talk about family. He has 5 kids. We have 5 kids. So I don't know whether that's a political crime.
Ron, will you back the eventual Republican nominee wholeheartedly, whoever it is?
Wholeheartedly, I would have to reassess that because they're still talking about. They want more war than Obama. I think Obama wants way too much more. He's ready to go into Syria under the UN resolutions and flaunting the responsibility to tell Congress or ask Congress. No, I'd have a lot of trouble with that. I want people, and I think it may shift. I mean, the people are shifting, so the politicians are going to shift their views too. Now that the people want to come out, by November, and Obama is upstaging the Republicans because now he has once again become the peace candidate. He's won the Nobel Prize. At the same time, he promotes war. So he's going to get away with something because right now the Republicans are going to be the war party. They're going to be the John McCain party. And this is the reason why Obama won before is usually a more sensible approach to dealing with other nations and the willingness to go to war is a major factor for the American people. Just think World War I and World War II came on after Wilson and Roosevelt said, I'm going to keep you out of war. So people don't quite understand this, and I think the Republicans have fallen into the trap because now they're the war party and they support, the Patriot Act, invasion of our houses, the TSA and all these things. That's what the young people and independents do not like, and I think they're setting the stage for a difficult time in the fall. So if the perceptions change and their attitude change, my mind about the other candidates might change, but right now they're in favor of way too much big government for me.
All right, Congressman Paul, we want to thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.